You wandered too deep into the woods, the gnarled branches twisting above like skeletal fingers. The air was thick with an unnatural stillness, the kind that made your skin prickle. Then, through the dense fog, you saw a massive, dark mansion, its towering spires vanishing into the gloom. It stood like a forgotten relic, untouched by time, its grand doors slightly ajar, as if inviting you in. Curiosity got the best of you. Against your better judgment, you stepped inside. The moment your foot crossed the threshold, the mansion awakened. Chandeliers flickered to life, casting long, shifting shadows on the walls. The grand hall stretched endlessly before you, draped in eerie silence. A shadow flickered in the corner of your vision, then another, and another. They weren't just shadows, they were familiar, too familiar. As your eyes adjusted, they looked like the people you knew, like you. These figures had no faces, but their presence was unmistakable. They moved like them, carried their same mannerisms, and spoke in their voices, but without facial movement. Their voices echoed softly, like those you had heard all your life. This is no ordinary mansion. It was a gateway to the shadow world. Stepping further in, you found yourself beyond the threshold, outside the mansion, yet not in the world you had come from. The city sprawled before you, identical to your own. The streets bustled with figures that mimicked your neighbors, co-workers, and friends. There was the coffee shop where you grabbed your morning latte, the office where you spent hours working, and the grocery store where you picked up dinner. Even your favorite restaurant stood at the corner, just as it should. It was all here. The people know. The shadows went about their lives, mirroring everything in your world. Above, the sky was black and infinite. But the moon, it was different. Unlike the moon you knew, this moon was too luminous, too big. It hung low, casting an ethereal glow over the world. There was no sun, no cycle of day and night, only the moon and the stars. At first, you thought it was simply watching over this world, but then you noticed something odd. When you arrived, the moon had no eyes. Now, faint outlines had begun to form, a pair of unblinking eyes carved into its surface, slowly opening. The stars around it followed suit, light shifting, morphing, and turning into sight. And they are looking for something. They are looking for you. A creeping chill wrapped around your spine. The longer you stood in this world, the colder it became, as if your very existence was being drained away. The shadows began to notice you. They turned, their heads tilting in eerie unison. Whispers slithered through the air, voices hollow, distorted. You don't belong here. This world already have you, or at least the shadow version of you. And that meant only one thing. You are an intruder. The first movement was subtle, a shadow stepping closer, its featureless face tilting in curiosity. Then another followed, and another. Soon, a ripple spread through the city. Every shadow turned toward you, silent yet knowing. Their footsteps didn't make a sound, but they were closing in. Above, the moon's iris began to dilate, its black pupil expanding into an abyss of endless darkness. If it saw you, if it truly saw you, you knew what would happen. You would be swallowed whole, dragged into an eternal void where you will lose your mind in the dark unknown. The game of tag had begun. You have to move. You have to get out. The mansion, it is the only way back. The shadows moved faster, their silence more terrifying than a scream. The stars above shifted, their watchful eyes tightening their focus. The moon loomed overhead, its iris widening, ready to consume you. You ran. Without looking back, you ran. The world blurred around you, shadows lunging from every corner, their faceless forms stretching, reaching. The whispers turned to a cacophony, voices overlapping in a dreadful chorus. The mansion's towering silhouette appeared in the distance, its doors yawning open. Your lungs burned, your legs ached, But you didn't stop. The light from the mansion flickered, wavering as if struggling to hold its existence. You leaped through the entrance. The moment you crossed the threshold, the world snapped. Silence. You collapsed onto the cold wooden floor of the mansion's grand hall, gasping for breath. The shadow world is gone, and the moon's gaze is no longer piercing through the walls. Everything is still. You gather the last bit of energy left and leave the mansion. As you make it through the forest, the familiar world greets you, the streets bathed in the warm glow of the sun. Relief washes over you, but only for a moment. You are not alone. At the edges of your vision, the shadows that crossed the threshold still lingered. They don't belong here, yet here they are, watching you, silently. That night, you start dreaming of the shadow world. The towering moon, the bustling streets, the shadows of familiarity. But when you awoke, you felt it, the presence in your room, just beyond the veil of sight. The shadows had followed you back. Now, they would never leave, because now you know of their world, and they know of you.